Welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. With over 20 years of real estate experience and selling over 150 homes a year, Laura Sanders is the #1 REMAX agent in the state of Florida for 2021. Join us each week as we discuss how to make money through buying and flipping homes, to renting versus selling, and everything in between. To join the conversation, call in live. 888-994-4995, Studio A.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. Every week, we talk about something that can help your business, help you to navigate this crazy world that we live in. And today, what I decided to do is bring in one of my counterparts from the Fort Myers area to talk about the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. Oh my God, I still got that in my mind from 1992. Anyway, Hurricane Ian, excuse me. You know, nothing affects you more when you've actually lived through one of these hurricanes. So today we have Barry Goettemoeller. He is with REMAX in Fort Myers, and so he would be definitely a good referral source for the Fort Myers area, and to let us know like what's going on in Fort Myers, what led up until the day before the hurricane, how you guys handled that, and where does real estate stand in Fort Myers? Like, a lot of people think to not go over to Sanibel, to not go over to Fort Myers, to not go over to all these places because we're not sure what exists and what doesn't. And is it a good time to buy over there? So welcome, Barry. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Laura. Thanks for having me. It's awesome being here. Good seeing you again. And we are definitely open for business over here.
That's good to know. So you're still selling like 150 houses a year?
Well, we're getting after it.
It's been a year.
It has been a year. September
a little over.
28th was September. It's amazing you remember the days, but the September 28th was the big day. And so you asked about leading up to it. I mean, it was, when we're in Florida, you get this. I mean, here we go, another hurricane, right? You know, we're watching the news, and the last few that have come through here in 2004 and 2017 weren't as devastating, I guess, as everybody anticipated. So, here we go. Ian's coming up the Gulf, and we're kind of giving it the old, okay, some people are leaving, some are staying, some are in between. And when it took a turn the morning of the 28th towards Fort Myers Beach, that's when we got a little nervous. And unfortunately, there were a lot of people that lived on Fort Myers Beach, and at that point it was a little too late to get out. So, a lot of people hunkered down and tried to survive it, and unfortunately a lot did not survive it.
What was the number of people? I mean, so when you and I were talking recently at a conference, you had told me that I guess a lot of people had stayed at the Hooters locally. I never heard anything about this. And you had told me something it was mind-blowing to me. And I didn't know about this, that the Hooters restaurant, they decided to hunker down there and have we all say a hurricane party, right? And you told me something very devastating, that they were all washed away and killed in this hurricane, that the Hooters was gone.
Of course, I don't have evidence of any of it, but there were a lot of people who couldn't get off the island and stayed and thought it's going to be another threat, right? And a lot of people were displaced from their home. The water level was 15 feet and over most of the island, and a lot of people didn't make it. The official numbers are a couple hundred. I don't know what that means, but we're still hearing stories, and people are really tight here, especially on Fort Myers Beach. The people who grew up on that island and the people who work on that island, they stick together and stay tight, kind of like everybody does in the state. But in that particular area, a lot of people stayed and perished. A lot of people survived too, and there are some great stories of rescue that came out of the beach area as well. But the bar and service industry is a great industry. I was part of it many, many years ago. It's a tight-knit group, and so yeah, some folks stuck it out and didn't make it.
So this was a level 5 category hurricane?
My understanding is they won't call it a level 5 because that has to do with your insurance deductibles, and you don't have to pay them if it's called a level 5. So the state has labeled it a level 4 officially.
Okay. And how is that looking for you guys over there with insurance? I mean, are we having an issue with what's flood and what's insurance?
Well, FEMA changes those flood maps whenever they want to, and coincidentally, we were scheduled for a FEMA map change in November of last year. In addition to that FEMA flood map change, which didn't change for the better for homeowners, it changed for the worse. And then you throw in the category 4 or 5 hurricane. Insurance is definitely a problem over here for residential, single family homes, commercial, multifamily, HOAs. Everybody's kind of scrambling now, but we're working through it. You don't have any choice, right?
What is like the long-term prognosis of this? Like, how is this affecting you guys?
Well, initially, like every time there's a natural disaster anywhere in this country, the citizens come together and let's help each other. What can we do? Chainsawing trees out of the roads and rescue, after the rescue operations. I mean, we have a lot of friends who are first responders and fire and police, and what they had to do to help recovery and rescue. And for a while, it was a little depressing. I mean, helicopters flying up and down the river to get down to the beach area that were, bringing back whatever they were bringing back. Hopefully some rescue. We like to think that. But it was pretty scary for a while. And then everybody kicked into, what can we do? What can we do? And like any area would. And Fort Myers is no different. The people here are very resilient. But the long-term prognosis on Fort Myers Beach is a little bit different because, it's an island. And a good part of the island was older wood frame buildings that are all gone, all washed away. The buildings that were concrete block or 2 or 3 stories high, raised, for the most part survived, but were significantly damaged. So the issue becomes now the zoning and coding and redevelopment. And what's going to change? How do we bring the electrical up to code, the water, the sewer, just the elevation? So buildings are being required to be built up. If they're X number of years old, they have to be demolished. If there's so much, 50% rule has to do with the damage. And if the damage is more than 50% of the value of the structure, they want to wipe it out and start over. Well, that's obviously causing some turmoil, but those kind of changes, governmental changes, take some time. Council members determining what do we have to change in terms of the zoning and coding to make this better. And we get some pushback from locals who like our small, quaint beach town.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to change. But it's going to be years. It's going to be 5 years, maybe 10 years. I mean, we're getting a number of large developers coming in and buying up properties for $30, $40, $50 million for parcels that are basically vacant land.
Wow.
That maybe had buildings on them, maybe need still need to be demolished. So the landscape's going to change. We were kind of in the middle of a project with the Margaritaville resort that was scheduled to open at the end of last year and clearly did not, and is opening now next month, and we're really excited about that. That's a big opportunity. And so now,
I would love to hear about that opportunity. So let's do this. Let's go to commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about opportunities to buy in your area, so you can tell our audience here on the other side what to look for. So let's go to commercial break. We'll see some of our great sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or building your dream home, you have a lot riding on your loan specialist. Max Fish, a top 1% mortgage loan officer in the nation, will give you a same-day qualifying quote. Max Fish is committed to providing his customers with mortgage services that exceed their expectations. Ensuring that you make the right choice for you and your family is his ultimate goal. Contact Max Fish today at 954-729-6933 or max.fisch@nwmcorp.net.
At JK Closing Attorneys, we do all of the same things that a title company does, but with the benefits of being a law office. We can help with residential real estate, short sales, commercial real estate, refinances, 1031 exchanges, and FRPTA withholding.
Contact JK Closing Attorneys today at 954-332-3111. Again, that is 954-332-3111.
You have been watching Making Money with Laura. For more information, contact Laura Sanders at 954-650-0827 or visit her website at lauraess.com. And now back to the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. We are talking with the fabulous Barry Goettemoeller over in the West Coast area of Fort Myers, and we're talking about the devastation of Hurricane Ian. And what we're going to talk about now is tell us what kind of opportunities because of the hurricane are available over there to us, and how is it how is it really affected? Like, can we get a better deal? Like, or is it business as usual? Like, how does that look? And you're saying something about Margaritaville, and sounds like a great place to buy to retire. So tell me more about it, because I'm looking to retire sooner than later.
Well, South Florida, you're no different than we always love to say here. As long as it's snowing up north, buyers will come to South Florida. And that's still the case, even after a devastating hurricane. In our case, over here, we have, Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Bonita Springs, Naples, Estero, and then Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel and Captiva Islands, which are all beautiful. Those obviously got hit the hardest as the hurricane hit the barrier islands before it got to land. But on the beaches specifically, a lot of the high-rise condo buildings are still not open. Again, the electrical, everything that had to be redone from the start is taking so much time in terms of permitting and approvals and special assessments to owners and so on and so forth. So properties, what first started happening is we first started getting restaurants and shops to open. That was so many small businesses on the beach. And I'd say we're maybe 25% back from a year ago. That's a long way to go. And it took 3 or 4 months before the first one to open and then the second one. And all of us that live here love to go down to the beach and spend our money as much as we can to support the locals there and the economy. But the opportunities here are going to be long-term for no different than really before in terms of second homeowners, vacation homeowners, relocation. After COVID, relocation, was a big thing to South Florida. And that has slowed a little bit. People still can work from home, and why not do it down here in paradise? But now second home buyers have slowed. The economy's been tough. Obviously the hurricane, interest rates, sellers taking their homes off the market thinking they missed the good days, which some did. But again, back to what I said before, as long as it's snowing up north and not here, buyers are going to come. So the opportunities at Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel and Captiva Islands are great, but they're long-term. There's not a ton of immediate cash flow rental income available. Again, if we're only at 25 to 30% of the commercial properties built out, next year, maybe it's 60%. So more tourists are going to come. So your rental property, you see what I'm getting at? It's just going to take some time for all that to get back to 100%.
Well, did Margaritaville sell out? Did they sell out, Margaritaville?
Margaritaville, it's I don't know the exact numbers. I want to say it's only 25% residential purchase. The rest is going to be rental.
Rentals for them to rent out Margarita themselves. Okay.
Correct. I can't tell you if I'm pretty sure they're sold out on the private part, but that's a small percentage of the property. Okay. It's mostly going to be for short-term rental. I mean, it's the Jimmy Buffett concept that he's done in a lot of different places, and again was supposed to open almost a year ago, and now it's just about ready to go, and we're super excited about that. And I think that has also spearheaded some other large developers to buying larger parcels, and so there's going to be some big projects coming that are going to be 2, 3, 4-year projects. But there are still some great opportunities. A lot of our homeowners down on the beach have chosen to remodel, get their insurance claims, fight through that process, and remodel and rebuild bigger than ever. Some have walked away, but not very many. So as for the investors, the steals that are available, I don't know that there's been a ton. Those phone calls started coming the day after the hurricane, and my list of investors that want to get a property at a discount is this long, and it gets longer every day. But, the homeowners here, for the most part, were not underwater is not the right word to use, but, they had good equity in their home.
I'm sorry, that was a very bad word. Very bad choice of words, Barry.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But the homeowners here were strong. They had good equity in their homes, and so they weren't in trouble financially. But some of them just, it's not like they don't have the cash to rebuild, but some of them just don't want to do it.
But what
It's been
about
a
these
process.
assessments? Like, because, that can become overwhelming. Like, why isn't this being paid for by insurance
Yeah.
versus an assessment
Yeah.
from these owners? Like, to me, that could be devastating financially, especially for second homeowners, that these were their places for, to come during the winter time, and, they still have another home, and to get, I mean, you're not talking about little assessments. We're probably talking about $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, maybe more, 100. And
Yeah,
over,
more or more.
right,
The worst
over,
part has been for
yeah,
our condo association owners. Our associations have really been in trouble. The individual homeowners are fighting through their homeowner policy and their flood policy if they carried it, and FEMA. And flood policy wants to blame the wind policy wants to blame the flood policy. So now you're bringing in a private or a public adjuster. You're dealing with the insurance company's attorneys and their adjusters, and yeah, it's a constant battle. Now if you add a homeowner association on top of that, so now the homeowner association is fighting for the individual owners of the association, and that can be a process. And if the HOA wasn't fully funded with their reserves before,
yeah,
then yeah, those special assessments can be devastating to the condo owners, homeowners. And I own a few condos myself over here, and which is silly because we've had special assessments on every one, and those insurance premiums are doubling or tripling for the
Well,
HOAs.
and here's something that, we just had a massive flood down in Fort Lauderdale. And one thing, I've been doing this for a very long time. I know you've been doing this for a very long time. I never really paid attention that flood is only covering $250,000. They're not covering any place for you to go live. And here's the other thing that kind of is very frustrating, because everybody wants to get out of paying us. Always,
Right.
all the time. They want us to pay, but they don't want to pay us. So here's where I'm wondering. So recently, in the last year, you've seen that we've lost water coverage, sometimes max $10,000, right? So even though it's wind, right, it's really water damage from the rain.
Yep.
So are they trying to get out of that? Because I bet you they are.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
People,
So you got
the
attorneys
average
on this side
person,
fighting attorneys.
right, but the average person doesn't think about how to pick this apart. And they're sitting here telling us we're going to pay a 2% deductible for wind coverage. But it's not the wind always that does the damage, right? The wind pulls the roof off, but
Now
then the
water.
rain comes in and rains inside your house, and we have no water coverage anymore.
Yeah.
So how do you get paid? And then it's
Some
not
people don't.
really flood because it's not rising. It's coming from down. Then so the flood says, but no, we come from rising. We don't come from the rain. I can't imagine the stress and what all these people are feeling, because I have a lot of friends that were insurance adjusters, and once flood came in, and now they don't even want to pay the attorneys anymore. So they're like, if it becomes a water coverage situation, the attorneys don't even want to touch it anymore because they're not going to get paid. So I feel like the lay person isn't protected. We're in Florida. We want to live here. We love it. We love the sun. But what do we do? And this is like the most important word to get across is like, this isn't about anything other than the government doesn't back us. They're not helping us.
Well, I feel like the laws that changed last December with regards to tort reform for insurance is going to help from all indications from our insurance carriers, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a few years. There have been so many years of issues with fraudulent claims and problems that it takes a long time. That's why so many carriers left the state. But just in the last month, we've had carriers coming back into Florida writing policy, and that takes the stress off Citizens Insurance, which is our state-backed, carrier, which ultimately takes some of the pressure and the load off of our citizens themselves. But it's going to be a long, long process, Laura. And you're right; it has been an education for all of us because we all kind of live. I'm not going to say we live in the clouds, but we do love it here. We love the sunshine. we know what risks we take here. I mean, but there's risks everywhere. You live in Nebraska isn't a flood zone anymore. I mean, you got tornadoes and hurricanes and fires. You got to weigh that with take the risk and protect your family and do the best you can with your resources, and that includes insurance. So we're learning the hard way sometimes, but we're learning, and most importantly, we're resilient and we will survive.
It's true. We're almost out of time, but just to kind of surmise, basically, when you go back in 2005 when we got hit by Wilma, and you go back even further and you go back to 1992 in August of, oh my gosh, now all of a sudden I forgot it. I'm confusing their names. But you go back to Hurricane Andrew, right? The insurance companies were paying. The devastation was in the loss. The devastation now is going way past the loss and is going through the frustration of trying to maneuver and work through, which same word, insurance, right? It's not the same. When Wilma came, you made a claim, they paid it. They really didn't try to say to you it wasn't real. And I think what happened from there is people after these hurricanes said, oh, look at this. People would tell people, oh, don't worry about your roof. Like, people come from other states. They were like thinking that your roof's covered by insurance. Even if it just starts leaking, insurance will buy you a new one. No, that's called your roof is old. You need a new roof. Right. So, anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming out. Can you tell our listeners, where can they get you? What's the best number to call you if they're thinking about coming to Fort Myers? And it doesn't have to necessarily be for a deal, but it might be a little bit better than the usual.
Well, we love to help anybody that wants to talk or hear about our area or come to our area. My company is called BG and Company at REMAX Realty Team. My personal cell number is 239-313-8385. And our office is right off of Daniels Parkway near the airport in Fort Myers. So we're very centrally located to this whole area. And our team of agents and staff are, we've got a great group of people that love to help, that have lived here their whole lives. And, buying, selling, commercial investments, all that stuff. We do all that stuff, but it's all about the people.
Well, Barry will pick you up from the airport right when you come in and take you to look at those properties, but you just got to be ready to write a check. So thank you, Barry. And if you're looking for an awesome realtor in the South Florida area, always think of Laura Sanders at laurassell.com. And you can call me at 954-650-0827. And don't forget, we are doing 0% mortgages, help you get your home ready to sell on the market ASAP. And listening. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning in for Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. To join the conversation, call us at the studio, 888-994-4995 Studio A, or contact Laura directly at 954-650-0827.